Boom, Ever Onward Tribe, June Commander's Coffee. I am late. This is coming on the 30th of June, so unless my bride is able to turn to and get this thing out tonight, which I'm going to hopefully not burden her too badly with, this could come out in July. So for that, I apologize. It occurred to me as I was thinking about trying to get this done in the last week. I had all kinds of excuses, probably many of which would have been accepted for why I haven't gotten this Commander's Coffee done and posted. But it really highlighted something in my mind that excuses are not something I do, and it's not something I felt like I've ever let creep into who I am. It's not something my family kind of condones or engages in, and I think that's been a real positive thing in my leadership life kind of progression, and so it made me think about excuses. So the title of this Commander's Coffee is Excuses and the Perfect Time, and that'll be the second part of the Commander's Coffee. I can't tell you how many times I've met people that either attempted SEAL training, both when I was on active duty in the Navy and then out of the Navy, somebody that had previously tried SEAL training, didn't make it, and then proceeded to explain through a number of excuses why they didn't make it. This seems natural. I'm sure there is an equal, if not greater, number of candidates that didn't make it. And if you asked them about it or talked about it, they'd be like, look, that program wasn't for me. I gave everything I had. I did not see the finish line because of how challenging it was. Those guys are crazy. It wasn't for me. If you talk to a bunch of SEAL teammates, I think they'd share an echo, and I kind of followed up on this, that no, most of the stories they get are somebody that gives an excuses. Either one of the instructors had it out for them, the program really didn't think they could make it, so pushed them into failure, some level of the weather, the conditions, the water, whatever it might be, was the only reason they failed the course. And so they've basically been given the shaft, being bumped out of the program. I think a lot of times, and I always give somebody the floor when they want to talk about this, there's no purpose and I don't see any value in beating them up over the fact. But I think what they often fail to realize is my job, one of my last jobs on active duty, was running the basic course of instruction. So there was a commanding officer who was senior to me, but I ran basically all the phases of instruction, and then I sat on what was called all the administrative separation boards, ADSEP boards, for any candidate that we were going to decide if they were going to leave the program or stay. Now, there's not people that quit. If you quit, you quit. You're leaving, and you did that willfully. There are some people, though, that either fail multiple evolutions, things we require of them, or their behavior and kind of personality is at such a place that we need to evaluate whether they're right for the program to move forward. And so you sit on these boards. I was the senior ranking member of the board. I had several instructors with me, and usually a senior enlisted, and students would come in and kind of plead their case. I really only remember two types of students. One type of student would come in and they'd own it. They just say, look, I failed. This is where I fell short. I've been working on it. I think I can pass it. If you give me another opportunity, I'll give my absolute maximum, and I hope I get a chance to stay. If you came in with that attitude, you had a pretty good chance of seeing the other side with another opportunity to go through the program. The second, the latter, of those two personality traits or kind of styles in those boards was the excuse guy. It was the guy that was just saying, again, somebody had it out for him, some level of circumstance influenced them in such a way that had that not been the case, they would have clearly made it through the program and we were making a mistake. If you came in with this line of thinking, you rarely got a second opportunity or multiple opportunities to get through the course. It was just not something we were looking for in a teammate, somebody that would make excuses about falling short of the requirement. We used to think as instructors, because a lot of the excuses would come down to I was hurting, I had this ailment, my knees were bad, I had stress fractures in my leg, ITB, issues in their joints and in their ligaments, and it was funny. We used to think as instructors we wish we could almost plug the entire class into each other like through a USB port, and you'd be able to feel how everybody else in the class was feeling, because what we knew would be the case is probably the top 5 performers in the class, the guys that were just smoking the course of instruction, probably were hurting as much, if not more, than those that were complaining about being hurting. That's what's going to translate into being a good frogman and a good warrior on the battlefield. But you couldn't convince that of a student if you tried to get him to think of it otherwise. The thing that worries me about excuses, because we all fall into this, and I think even as we're talking about it overtly, you do fall into your mind from time to time thinking about excuses, is it does seem to drive you into this pitfall of kind of waiting for the perfect time to get something done. I think all of us have experienced if I just wait till Monday, I'm going to start eating better then. If I wait till Friday because of what I got going on the next couple of days, I can start this new exercise program or start writing more, start attacking some goal I'm trying to achieve. And the waiting for the perfect time is every bit as toxic as making excuses about doing something or not doing something. I can assure you that the perfect time to do something is right now. There is no perfect time. It'll never be a set of circumstances where the birds are chirping, the sun is shining, and this is the day you're going to make your mark on the world. The people that get things done are the ones that are just like, good, bad, indifferent, now I'm going to go attack this thing. Now is the time for me to go do it. It makes me think of this great story my dad told me. He was watching a basketball game with one of his business colleagues, and his son was a freshman on the basketball team during the game. So they're sitting far enough up in the stands that they couldn't be, too verbal in the game. But this kid's son got in as a freshman. Ball comes down to their offensive side of the court. Kid's a great outside shooter. The kid breaks free off a pick, gets open on the baseline, gets a beautiful pass, and then he goes to pull up and take the shot. He hesitates for a second, hesitates a little bit longer, and then is trying to do it. And in the time that he was doing that, my dad said his buddy stood up and yelled at the top of his lungs, "Shoot it or don't shoot it, but don't F around with it." Did not use F. He went full blast and let him know. But my dad shared that story with me, and it was such a good lesson idea of, shoot it, pass it, do something. Don't just stand and hesitate with it, right? When we wait for the perfect time, you'll rarely find it. You'll rarely find it. So don't do that. Don't do that. I'm going to wrap this up. I'm sorry that it took me to the end of the month to get this done, but I will make no excuses as to why that's the case, and I'll just shoot for better in the next month. Let's not let our excuses or let excuses kind of creep into what we're doing, and recognize for sure that right now is the perfect time to do that which you know you need to do. Get it done. Good luck. Ever onward.